Okay, let's see here. All right, this is Anthony. So, if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. Let's go ahead and talk about Damon Wayans. Now, if you're in the black community in general, or just like comedy, you're gonna know who the Wayans brothers are. They have brought comedic genius and entertainment to families all over the world for 30, 40 years at this point, right? Now, I am really big on my channel in general when it comes to families, marriage, togetherness, supportiveness, healing, things of that nature. So whenever I hear the interview that Damon did with Shannon Sharpe, and he talked about his father, he talked about something in that interview that was largely ignored, in my opinion. Yes, he talked about his faith. Yes, he talked about how poor they was. Yes, he talked about him having a relationship with his nephew's ex, I believe. They talked about all kinds of things, right? Talked about other comedians, etc. But this particular case, he talked about his father. And you can tell whenever he's speaking about his father, he has a lot of respect for him. And yes, it's granted, most kids, especially sons, are going to have love for their mother. They're going to always ride for their mother. But it's pretty rare, at least it's pretty rare nowadays, where you get to see a father and a mother stand through the storm together and raise successful kids. I cannot think of one Wayans that is out here broke or not doing anything in their life. They have all been successful, and large came from seeing two families work it out. Now, he talked about how difficult his mother was, and they even said, hey, I'm surprised you stayed here for mom. They wouldn't have blamed him if he left. But the fact is, there's always that quote that, you know, a man would sacrifice his happiness and everything to keep his family together. And that's a prime example here. His father had to sacrifice the things he wanted to do, his pride, and he just wanted to make sure that his kids were okay. And having that presence of a man there did a lot for them. So let's go ahead and go over the Shannon Sharpe interview with Damon, and then we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Hello. You got in trouble for stealing from your dad.
I stole 15 cents from my father, and he missed it. And I'm like, I don't ever want
Y'all
to be
that
this
poor? He missed 15 cents?
15 cents, came downstairs, followed me down the stairs, and like a school bully, threw me against the wall. Where my money?
Now, I will say, maybe that's just like a father-son thing. A lot of fathers and sons have conflicts like that, similar to that. I had one with my father at one point in time. I think it was something really dumb. It was, if I remember correctly, it was he didn't want to talk to somebody on the phone. I answered the phone. I gave it to my dad, and he pretty much did the exact same thing.
And I'm like, I know, I didn't take no dollars, so I'm just like, what? And I had it separated in my pocket, right? Because he had to change, and my father searched me.
Oh, he pat you down? He stop and frisk?
Took that's my nickel, 1964. That's my nickel. And he beat me right down the stairs like a dude off the street.
Damn.
And like I said, I don't ever want to be that poor.
And you notice when people are successful that came from nothing, it's normally because of the motivations like that. They grew up very poor. They saw how hard their family had to work. They know how much the struggle is. So they'll do whatever they can to make sure they're successful so they can help their families out, take care of their parents, and just overall just promote themselves and motivate themselves to be a much better person than they probably would have been if they would have had everything given to them. You know, there's always that old mindset of that we want to provide better for our kids so they can go ahead and be better and not go through the hardships that we go through, right? But sometimes something is lost with that whenever we sit here and we give our kids everything that we didn't have, sometimes they can feel lazy and entitled and don't work as hard. Now, I will say this. You don't see that too much in the black communities from what I can tell. Like Damon and his son's been on multiple TV shows. Who's another one? It's Ice Cube's son. He's very successful, hardworking himself. Even LeBron and his sons, they're hardworking. So it's a good thing as long as we always keep that disciplined mindset that we had growing up, watching our parents struggle and remembering the hardships that we have to, and we don't spoil our kids too much, it's going to be fine. But it's just something that says that what should break us doesn't break us and make us stronger and wiser to make sure our families can be wiser and stronger and go forth. Hopefully, we won't go through that process of we are rich and successful, or not even rich and successful. This we got out the mud, we made it easier for the kids, and now they make it easier for the kids to the point to where it's just kind of drops off. They go back into poverty. We can give a nice steady foundation of this is what you need to see. This is what you need to invest your money, what education you need to get, what you need to read to make sure your family stays strong and move forward. And I feel like that's what Wayans has done, because again, they have such a strong family unit that I don't see them ever failing, because they all went through that struggle together. So that bonds you much deeper than just being normal siblings.
I miss 15 cents, but that's with me today. That's part of my motivation.
Damn. Mm-hmm. Did your siblings see it? When y'all got whippings, did they make fun of y'all?
All the time. We mock you as soon as you go.
Yes, Daddy, yes!
You know what's worse about that is whenever you get a whooping, and you get a whooping with your friend. So let's say like if y'all both doing something wrong, back in the day, it wasn't just your parents that would whoop you. It's a village. So if your friend was over and y'all both doing something dumb, y'all both gonna get a whooping. And whoopings was a lot different depending where you're from. Like for example, sometimes you'll get a whooping with a hand. Sometimes you get a whooping with a belt. Depending on the severity of it, sometimes it could be with a switch or with an extension cord. Again, today stuff like that is considered brutal, but back then now it's the norm.
That make it worse.
That make it worse. It was worse than the whooping.
But how important do you think having your dad in your household, given what you know now, how important do you think that is to have a black man in the household?
The greatest gift my father ever gave us was coming home.
And that was so deep. When I first heard that part, it hit me in the heart. Because for me personally, I'm raising a kid by myself, right? And I hope, not necessarily right now, because I am a strict and I can be a harsh parent. I know that. I am fully aware of that. But the world is going to be 10 times harder than what I am on my own kid. So I'm trying to prepare her for what the world is going to give to her, the good and the bad. So whenever I hear that, I hope one day my daughter will say the same thing about me, that, you know what, my dad may have been harsh, but he was always there. Because I wasn't one of these guys that sat here and made 5 different kids by 3 different baby mamas. I had one kid because I didn't want to be a father originally. I had one kid, got a DNA test, found out the kid was mine. Okay, I'm stepping up. Let me raise this kid to be the best person that she can be, so she can have no excuse. I mean, I cannot change the color of your skin, but I can help control the integrity that you have and the intelligence in your brain and the heart that you have.
That's deep.
Because my mother didn't make it easy. He was a dumb MFer and all kind of stuff, because he did, she wanted stuff in life, like new underwear, like stuff she couldn't, just little stuff, makeup and get a hair, that couldn't do it. But he came home humble, Sometimes he had to tell her there ain't no food. What? Mr. Provider, you ain't got no food. And you trying to tell me what to do? Yeah, so but that was the gift. That's like, you come home. It doesn't feel good, but
so he's working 3 jobs.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't feel good. And that's why I always work my butt off myself. I have worked myself probably into an early grave to make sure that I can give my daughter everything I can. Now, I want to live until I'm about 90 personally, but I know the stresses that I've added to myself, trying to make sure I can provide everything I can for my daughter, it's taking its toll. It is what it is. But again, we work hard now to provide for our kids to make sure they can do better than what we did. And again, we're not rich, but we're not poor. For example, I grew up poor. I grew up in an apartment, not an apartment, a rented house that was very ran down, that had all kinds of critters in it. And I can go into stories about that. So if I go from that, and then to being homeless, and then owning a house and cars, and having to give my daughter pretty much everything she can ask for, I'm proud of that. So yes, as a parent, when you can't give your kids something, that is hard. So his dad walking into that door saying, "Hey, we don't have no food, or we're not going to be able to do this." I know that had to eat up at him really bad.
Has to provide for this family, and when he gets home, your mom doesn't make it easy. Mm-hmm. And I think Marlon said he could have easily understood if Pop would have checked out, because it wasn't easy.
We used to say, "What, hit her or something?"
Damn.
I ain't lying. My father, he never would like cuss at her.
Really?
Yeah, my father, when she died, he was ready to go. I miss her. I miss my gal. What? The one that used to cut you out? You miss
Yeah.
every day?
You got peace now. You ain't got nobody cursing you.
I miss my gal.
Damn.
He was just ready to go. Check, please. But that's like, he taught us love, like unconditional love. You know, he always saw her as the 16-year-old he fell in love with.
Ooh.
You know, that's beautiful.
And that's really beautiful right there. I always said personally, if I ever got married, I'm gonna be married one time. And I waited a long time to get married. And I found the woman that I thought I was gonna spend the rest of my life with. And part of the reason why I fell in love with her is because she reminded me of my great grandma. And what I mean by that is my great grandma was the strongest woman I ever met before in my life. Not only she will fight her with her fists, and then when she got too old to use her fist, she'll use a pew-pew. She always was hard as hell on everything, on everybody. I was her favorite. So there was a lot of my cousins and stuff that didn't like me because I got off a lot easier. But I just knew, hey, I see you doing that. You got your butt whooped. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to sit here and just be like, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go and do something else. Now, with that being said, though, as hard as she was on us, and even though we were all poor, we never missed a meal. We always had a home-cooked meal, right? And I'm not saying I stayed for her. Whenever she had her grandkids, great-grandkids over, you know, we was always welcome to stay the night. She made sure we were all tough as hell. And when I mean tough as hell, not necessarily like today's standards of tough of, you know, being a thug and being out on the streets, things of that nature, being tough in the sense of mentally tough, not backing down when you're challenged. Till this day, I have never walked away from a fight because my great grandma told me that if you get pumped one time, you're going to keep being pumped over and over and over and over and over again, and you'll never have any peace. You got to learn to stand your ground, stick up for yourself. Because if you're seen as a pushover, you're going to keep being pushed over. Sometimes you got to be a lot more aggressive version of yourself that you got peace later. And I always thanked her for that. So do I like violence? No. Do I like to fight? Not really. Do I have I had to before? Absolutely. Because I had no choice to. And she told me it was okay. It's okay to fight if you know what you're fighting for. But it's not okay to be a bully. And that's why I saw in my ex-wife, when I met her and got to know her and courted her and got married to her, I thought I found a woman that had that same values, that you stick together no matter what. I seen my grandmother, my great-grandma, stick to, I don't think it was her husband, but her partner, Benny, for years. You know, I see them collecting cans and working construction. Even when he lost his foot, she was always there. She may get mad and cuss at him or whatever else, but she would never let anybody disrespect him. That was her world. And we even at her funeral, we would say, hey, Granny was mean. Granny used to have a pew-pew. You know, you don't mess with her. But she always loved her family and would do anything for us. and that strength that she had to have, again, because she had to have it because of the time she grew up in, and she had to make sure we were tough to make sure we could take care of ourselves and each other, is something I'll always be grateful for. Anyways, I am done. You guys tell me what you think. Do you understand what Damon was saying? How do you feel about the Wayans family in general? I think personally, the Wayans are a national treasure. That's like up there with the Jacksons and everything else. I think when people think of America, they should think of the Jackson 5 and the Wayans brothers, or the Wayans family in general. Anyways, you guys like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what you think. I appreciate you watching. You've made it this far, and you guys have a great day.